Okay, so let's talk about one of the most divisive things in the Halloween Ends movie. Yes, spoilers ahead. There's a lot of spoilers here. If you have not watched the movie, do not watch this video. There's spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. That's your spoiler warning. I don't even know how many times I have to say it, but I'm still going to get that comment that's going to say, why'd you spoil the movie? But whatever. So I already did an ending explain. Go check out that video if you want to. And I'm going to talk more about a certain situation here, as you can read from the title, and that's Corey in the Halloween Ends movie. So, of course, spoilers ahead. But before we get any further ahead, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. We're on the road to 50,000 subscribers. We're currently running a giveaway, so we're collecting entries in for that. So make sure you comment below you want to enter, or go check out our giveaway video to find out other ways you can get more entries for that. But let's talk about this Corey situation in Halloween, because it's been a controversial topic, honestly. We start off the movie with Corey being blamed for the accidental death of one of the kids he was actually babysitting. Now, of course, we know that it was an accident. We saw the movie and everything, and we know that this seems to be something that he is still being pinned for, shamed on, and everything years on in the town. It was honestly a mistake that happened as they were sort of playing around, and then he accidentally got the kid being knocked over and fallen to his death. But the parents and all of them still saw this as sort of maybe something's wrong with him. And with the absence of Michael Myers and all of that, it is definitely a time for them to sort of find this new person or entity to put their energy for all of that as well. And so Corey kind of worked as a scapegoat as well. And I thought that was an interesting take that they took with this movie, is sort of seeing how people put their trauma and this horrificness that's happened to them into something new when that old thing is completely gone right now. And I think that we definitely saw this happen with Corey here. Now, Corey, at the same time being a product of the environment that he was in, also turned to a darker side of things, as we saw in the movie when he was confronted by Michael Myers after being thrown over and pretty much left for dead. He sort of found this sort of comfort in Michael Myers, as he was here being this person that was also cast away in a way. And even though it is not the same situation or everything that they're both in, because Michael Myers, I feel in this movie, is sort of just a representation of evil, whereas Corey could have been somebody who was just misunderstood and sort of pushed to the edge of it. They still sort of find this solace with one another and feel they are sort of equal at the same time. And I think that Corey kind of has this frustration and anger building up inside of him that's sort of hey, this can be sort of released if I'm able to be like him. He sort of has this resentment to the town that he wants to express, and the only way that he thinks he can express it is maybe if he becomes a killer like Michael. And I really did enjoy that David Gordon Green wanted to sort of dabble into these situations of what actually makes somebody evil. Are they just born evil, or do they become evil due to their environment? This whole nature versus nurture argument that's been going on for many, many decades over in the psychology world and all of that, I thought was an interesting thing to really dive into with this movie. And so I think that taking those risks and everything was always going to pan out the way it did. They all always talked about how this was going to be divisive and people are going to be pissed. I mean, even Jamie Lee Curtis and David Gordon Green have expressed this, and they said that, hey, this is just the movie they wanted to tell, and they told it. So I appreciate them taking those risks to tell this story. And pretty much we see Corey is somebody who by the end of it has been pushed all the way over the edge and has gone on this murdering spree, as well as sort of trying to be Michael as well, and at the same time has pissed off Michael that he even took his mask and everything. It's because that's sort of his identity as well. And I think the whole thing with Jamie finding these warning signs and nobody really believing her, I think really talks about our society today. And I think this whole situation where Laurie Strode was trying to pretty much warn about Corey and everything that was happening really is a good reflection in our society when we see things that are sort of not right, and many people are trying to say, hey, this is a warning sign, this is going to boil over time, you have to definitely address these issues, you have to put a stop to it, all of that. And you could put it into a lot of situations. I'm not really going to get into them in detail here, but there is these situations where you see it sort of start from the beginning fizzling, and people are just you know what, let's stop this fizzle, let's not let it get out of control, and everybody else is just you know what, you're overreacting, just chill, it's nothing, not a big deal. But then ultimately, once it does boil over, everybody's just like, why did nobody tell us this was going to happen? But that person or a group of people that were telling you, they're just like, what are you talking about? Like, we were just here the whole time telling you about this. So I think the whole Corey situation, in fact, is that. But I also think that it does show the way that the mob mentality does work, where Corey was sort of isolated and sort of pushed to the side and sort of beaten down as much as he could. And then by the time he was so beaten down, his psyche and everything had changed. And I think this is the reason he turned to Michael for comfort, because this is the only person who didn't really do anything to him or feel some other way about him, about what he had done. Of course, Michael had no clue about what he had done, so it's really not a way for him to feel that Michael was sort of this comfort person. Even Laurie was showing some compassion towards him, but then eventually we saw how that turned out as well. So I thought it was an interesting take right there. Of course, so we see Corey's demise at the hands of Michael himself, and I think this was just sort of the evil and corruption within him as well, sort of at the end of the day was what was his downfall as well, because Michael is that representation of evil and sort of like no empathy towards anybody, although he did have empathy for Corey for some reason, which I talk about in my ending how kind of weird that is. But nonetheless, let's talk about Corey and how this descent really started as well, because we know that Corey was somebody who seemed to be normal and just be a regular guy, right? But then when this whole incident happened, and then the stigma that followed him for so many years just started to beat down on him, and then even getting to a physical point with some of the people out there, it really started to wear down his mind to that point when he met Michael. He just felt like this was his savior, and that if he became like Michael, he could get revenge and feel better about everything. And eventually we saw that killing spree was what happened, but of course he does ultimately meet his demise at the end, and he sort of became this person that he never thought he would become, I feel. But it was sort of like that putting on the mask was just like him completely shielding himself away and destroying the Corey he was and becoming just evil at the end of the day. So a very good way of doing that. However you feel about the movie did it or not, or if this was the right movie to do it in, that's another thing. But I just wanted to talk about that, my opinion, my sort of observation from the movie as well, if you will. And I don't know. I definitely think this is going to be one of those divisive movies, just like Halloween 2 from Rob Zombie, which, by the way, when I first saw, I liked it. Then I didn't like it, and I like it right now. So we always change our opinions. No opinion is wrong when it comes to these things, because art is subjective. So if you hate it, you love it, let me know in the comments down below. But as always, that's going to do it for me. If you haven't already checked out my ending explain, where I talk a little bit more about these things, go check it out right now. Like I've said, we are currently running a giveaway, so if you want to enter that, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell. Check out the giveaway video to find out how to get more entries. And as always, that is going to do it for me. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on Halloween Ends, and also check out all our other videos. As always, stay safe, stay positive.